Picture this: Britain, 1962. Narrow streets lined with brick terraces. Factory whistles blowing at dawn. A young family standing outside a modest semi-detached home, staring proudly at a brand new car in the driveway. Compact, affordable, and unmistakably modern. It wasn't a Jaguar. It wasn't a Rolls-Royce. It was something far more important. A car built not for the elite, but for the everyday worker. A machine designed to motorize a nation rebuilding itself after war. How did one simple saloon become Britain's everyman car? This is the story of the 1962 Ford Cortina. In the early 1960s, Britain was changing. Post-war austerity was fading, wages were rising, and car ownership was becoming a realistic ambition for ordinary families. The British Motor Corporation dominated the domestic market with models like the Mini and the Morris Oxford. Meanwhile, Ford of Britain, based in Dagenham, needed a breakthrough. Ford's answer was a new mid-sized family car, developed under the internal code name Archbishop. The goal was simple: build a car lighter, cheaper, and more fuel-efficient than its rivals. It had to appeal to first-time buyers and fleet operators alike. The project was led by Ford's UK management, with styling influenced by American design trends, but tailored to British tastes. Engineers focused on weight reduction, affordability, and mechanical simplicity. The car would slot between the smaller Ford Anglia and larger Ford Consul Classic. When the Ford Cortina was officially launched in September 1962 at the London Motor Show, it entered a fiercely competitive market. Yet Ford believed it had something different, a car designed not just to compete, but to dominate. And almost immediately, it began to do exactly that. The original 1962 Ford Cortina, later known as the Mark I, was deceptively simple. Beneath its clean lines was a lightweight unibody construction weighing just around 1,600 pounds in base form. That low weight was crucial. It allowed modest engines to deliver respectable performance while maintaining excellent fuel economy. At launch, buyers could choose between two four-cylinder Kent engines, a 1.2-liter producing approximately 48 horsepower, and a 1.5-liter delivering around 60 horsepower. These engines were paired with a 4-speed manual gearbox and rear-wheel drive. For a family saloon, the Cortina could reach speeds approaching 80 miles per hour, more than sufficient for Britain's A roads. But Ford didn't stop there. In 1963, the company introduced the Cortina GT, featuring a tuned 1.5-liter engine producing roughly 78 horsepower. With front disc brakes and improved suspension, the GT added a sporty edge to the practical formula. The most legendary version arrived in 1963 as well, the Lotus Cortina. Developed in partnership with Lotus and engineer Colin Chapman, it used a twin-cam 1.6-liter engine producing around 105 horsepower. Suddenly, the humble Cortina was winning touring car races. Jim Clark drove it to victory in the British Saloon Car Championship in 1964 and 1965. This dual identity, family car and motorsport hero, was marketing gold. By 1966, just 4 years after launch, Ford had sold over 1 million Cortinas. Production took place not only in Dagenham, but also in Halewood. The car became a common sight in driveways, taxi ranks, and company fleets across Britain. It was affordable, easy to repair, and mechanically straightforward. Insurance costs were reasonable. Fuel consumption hovered around 30 miles per gallon. For many families, it was the first new car they ever owned. The Cortina wasn't luxurious. The base model had rubber floor mats instead of carpets and minimal chrome trim. But it offered reliability and space at a price that undercut many competitors. And that practicality made it a symbol of upward mobility in 1960s Britain. By the late 1960s, the Cortina was at its peak. The Mark II, introduced in 1966, refined the formula with sharper styling and improved interior space. Sales remained strong, and Ford cemented its dominance in the fleet market. Throughout the 1970s, successive generations, the Mark III in 1970, Mark IV in 1976, and Mark V in 1979, kept the Cortina fresh. The Mark III adopted a more American-inspired Coke bottle shape. Engine options expanded to include 1.3-liter, 1.6-liter, and even 2.0-liter Pinto engines. Automatic transmissions became available, reflecting changing buyer expectations. At its height, the Cortina was Britain's best-selling car. In 1972 and again in 1973, it topped national sales charts. By 1979, Ford had sold more than 4 million Cortinas worldwide. But beneath the chrome and rising sales figures, cracks were forming. Build quality became a recurring criticism. Rust was a notorious problem, particularly on 1970s models exposed to Britain's damp climate. Wheel arches, sills, and door bottoms often corroded prematurely. Owners joked that Cortinas dissolved almost as quickly as they were sold. Competition intensified. The Morris Marina, launched in 1971, targeted the same market. Later, European rivals such as the Volkswagen Passat and Opel Ascona offered increasingly modern front-wheel drive layouts. Even Ford's own engineering philosophy began shifting toward more aerodynamic, fuel-efficient designs as the 1973 oil crisis reshaped the industry. By the early 1980s, the Cortina's rear-wheel drive platform felt dated. Buyers were demanding hatchbacks and front-wheel drive efficiency. Ford needed something new, something more in line with continental trends. The Cortina had dominated for nearly 2 decades, but the world was moving on. In 1982, after 20 years of production, the Cortina nameplate was retired. Its replacement was the Ford Sierra, a radically styled, aerodynamic car that marked a clear break from tradition. The final Cortina rolled off the production line in July 1982. In total, over 4.3 million Cortinas had been built. Few family cars have achieved such sustained dominance. Yet survival rates today are surprisingly low. Rust, heavy fleet use, and simple economics meant many were scrapped by the 1990s. Well-preserved Mark I and Lotus Cortinas are now prized collector vehicles, with Lotus variants commanding high prices at auction. The Cortina taught the industry a powerful lesson. Success lies in understanding the everyday buyer. It proved that affordability, simplicity, and broad appeal could create a cultural icon. For 2 decades, it was more than just transport. It was Britain on 4 wheels. The Ford Cortina was never the most glamorous car on the road, but it may have been one of the most important. It carried families, fueled small businesses, and defined an era of British mobility. If you remember the Ford Cortina, leave a comment below and share your story. And subscribe for more automotive history from the Auto Classics Vault.